Influencers are a buzzword that marketing industry has been tossing around for some time now. But how can your boring business really benefit from working with an influencer? Well, today I'm talking with accidental entrepreneur and experienced junkie Mia Voss about how you can use micro influencers to grow your business the right way. And like I said, guys, this is going to be such a fun episode. We've got so much that we're diving into with so much drama that's been going on in the world of marketing and how we know this is probably really discouraging you from doing this. So make sure you stay tuned. It's time for the Marketing for Your Boring Business live show and podcast.
Welcome to Marketing for Your Boring Business, presented by All-in-One Social Media, where marketing professionals and industry leaders discuss what you can do to help your message get seen in a cluttered newsfeed. Join us each week to learn more about social media, online marketing, trending topics, and tips to grow your online marketing efforts. Now here's your host, Desiree Martinez.
Welcome back to the show, guys. Like the introduction says, I am Desiree, your host, and today we're going to be talking with someone who basically lives all of our social media dreams by getting paid to travel. I mean, can you really imagine getting paid to travel, enjoy luxury accommodations all the time? I know that all of us have kind of boring businesses, but we can dream, can't we? I, for one, cannot wait to learn more about how we can use micro-influencers in a fun and different way to market our businesses. You're going to want to make sure that you type 5 right now in the comments below to get updates from the show when we're going live and other resources that are going to help you with your marketing efforts to get your message seen in that cluttered newsfeed. So before we dive in, of course, we got to give a little bit of love for today's sponsor on our show, Sendable. Again, we're talking about micro influencers today, but as a boring business, how would you know how effective these marketing efforts are? How do you keep track of the posts made by the influencer? How do you share them? How do you know if it's even working for you? Well, let Sendable be that solution for you. Sendable allows for you to track social media conversations about your brand, share posts, and provide comprehensive reporting for all the social networks that you're using. You can also schedule posts to all of the major and minor social networks, plan blogs, and upload YouTube videos and so much more. This is the official social media marketing software of the All-in-One team. I have been doing this for almost 10 years, guys, and I have tested so many different social media platforms, and they always come back to Sendable because it really is the most comprehensive and has the most bells and whistles that are helping me to maximize what we're doing, not only for All-in-One, but for all the clients that we serve. You're going to want to make sure that you click the link in the description above to get yourself a 30-day free trial, and make sure you grab the content planner. It's going to give you a lot of fun ways to help you plan out your content for the entire year of 2019. So with so many new marketing terms, tools, and methods coming out what seems like every single day, it can be really maddening to try and keep up with everything that's going on for your boring business. It's really stressful and can make anyone, even the savviest of marketers or business owners, want to give up. And that's why we have the Marketing Buzzword with Ben Roberts. Ben is one of my favorite people and also the author of the soon-to-be-released Marketing Buzzword Marketing Authority book. So today he's going to come on and share with us this week's Marketing Buzzword. Welcome back, Ben.
Hey, Desiree. Thank you so much for having me back again. And thanks for the plug of the book as well. I didn't even have to pay you for that one.
I actually paid for the book, and I'm like, you know what? Everyone else needs to know about this book because it's going to be amazing. I know.
So excited now. Just over a month now. It's getting real close now, getting a bit crazy. So, here we go.
You're just going to be like a best-selling author, and we'll be able to say we knew you when.
All
right. So what is this week's buzzword, Ben?
So this week's buzzword, we're going to talk, I really wanted to find something that was really nicely linked. And the thing that just kept coming into my head was community building. Everyone's talking about building a community at the moment, from individuals and brands. So essentially, community building is creating an area. So it doesn't have to be on a specific platform, whereas a lot of people are talking about Facebook groups at the moment, which is amazing. But finding a platform where people can have like-minded discussions about specific topics. Now, if you're going to do that as a brand or individual, you need to find a platform, and you have two different choices. You can either build a forum, for example, where a lot of people will take them offline, and that is a focus. that is a really nice community, and that way people are really invested and they have to come to you. Or you can build communities in things like Facebook. What we're seeing at the moment is there's a huge resurgence in Facebook groups. What people need to remember if they are thinking about building a community is actually making sure that it's not about you. It's never about you. You are a teacher and you are someone who is actually helping to give that place. It's not about you and what you want. It's about what the audience can get out of it. It's about having those conversations. It's about enabling people to create real conversations and be quite natural. You don't want to be facilitating every single conversation within communities. So community building is a really, really hot topic. And something to remember, if you are going to go down that route, you can do it where people are, or you can take people to a different place. But either way, it has to be about them, not about you.
So I have a question. What is your favorite community right now online? Like, where are you finding that you are getting the most value for you personally as a business owner?
Oh, yeah. The place that I'm loving at the moment is a Facebook group. So this guy called Mark Masters, who's based in Bournemouth. And he started an email years ago called You Are the Media. And we met a few years ago, and he started his Facebook group that spun off the email. And that is an amazing place where I have been on this group now for 11 months maybe, and not a single person has tried to sell anything on there. They've all just been asking questions, asking opinions, advice, because these aren't necessarily all marketers. And that's what I find the most amazing about it, is it's not a marketing focused group, which actually means that you get so many different people's ideas and experiences. So I love this group because everyone has a focus of helping each other out. The idea of it is that you are the media, you're your best advocate, apart from obviously your customers, which can help you. But it's not all focused about just marketers talking to other marketers and becoming quite close-minded. So I'm loving that community at the moment.
I find that when you get into any specific niches, like whether it's like moms groups or marketing groups or whatever it may be, that they get really tunnel vision and they forget that there's like other ways to do things and that there's other ideas and different approaches to stuff. So I'm sure that that's been really valuable for you with so many different kind of business owners coming at different problems and giving different solutions that other people don't always think about.
Exactly. And that's why, again, when you're creating these communities, it's always thinking it's not about you, it's about other people. What can you do that's a little bit different? Because what we start seeing is, as marketers, we're really good at jumping on the next big thing, the next buzzword. And one of these ones at the moment is create a community. And it used to be create an email list. So it's actually, how can you do something a bit different that actually really adds value to people's lives? That's where us as marketers need to stay quite in tune, actually ahead there, thinking what else is going on outside of marketing, outside of our own little bubble.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Ben, for dropping that knowledge for us today. As always, it is a pleasure. And again, guys, make sure you check out Ben's book, the Marketing Buzzword book. And I'm sure that we'll have links for that in the comment section below and also in our show notes. Thanks again, Ben.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Now, if you are just joining us today, we are talking with Mia Voss about how your boring business can benefit from working with micro-influencers to grow your business. You're going to want to make sure that you type 5 in the comment section now so that you can make sure to get updates and resources that are going to help your boring business stand out in that cluttered newsfeed. So a little bit about our guest before we bring her on. Mia considers herself an accidental entrepreneur and has never been afraid to change, a shift, and is open to stumbling upon new opportunities. When the U.S. economy took a major downturn in 2008, her then thriving building inspection business was crippled. Reinvention was in order, and Mia dove into creating a women's network in Denver, which led to a career in social media management. In 2012, Mia began building her own online audience with her Google Plus and YouTube show, The Mia Connect Power Chat, interviewing a variety of guests on every topic imaginable. She also co-hosts the Food and Booze Show as one of her favorite online influencers, Chef Dennis Lidley. In 2015, she got the travel bug and created Mia on the Go, a series of travel adventures celebrating the idea of taking it on the road, hearing the stories of business owners, and meeting new people. And she hasn't stopped since. I'm so excited to have Mia on the show, so let's go bring her on. Welcome, Mia. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, how are you?
Awesome. All right, so we gotta just dive into this. So we have a little bit of background about why this kind of like fell into your lap, and I find it very interesting that so many of us entrepreneurs have stories about the recession and things like that, and how we've come to be where we're at. But what I really want to know is how you became a micro influencer.
Sure. And it's true. I think it's at this point about 10 years for most of us, to 2008, 2009 period when it really hit us. And so now we're in that decade period. Where's everybody at? It's interesting to see some people have gone back to working for a company, and they're an entrepreneur with a paycheck, or entrepreneur with health insurance, I like to say. That's really what it's all about. But for me, this was now, it's going on 4 years that I was doing a show on Google Plus back in the day. Rest in peace, Google Plus.
We're old school, guys. We're old school.
OG. And so, that was one thing. I was making all these connections with people. And I realized one thing I loved about doing the show was the storytelling and hearing people's stories and what lights them up about their business or what pain point they solved. And it was I was connected to a lot of international folks. So just got the idea. I was turning 50 and I was like, you know what? I want to go to Italy, and decided to kind of got the inspiration to connect with the people that I'd had on the show and say, let me come there and tell your story. And, and be not just you talking about how great your hotel is, your restaurant, but let me come and experience it and then bring, put my perspective on it. That's really to cut to the chase on micro influencing. It's having somebody else talk about how cool you are rather than just you talking about how cool you are, and somebody excited. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what do our boring business owners need to know about getting started with what this micro influencer thing is?
So, in some ways, I'm gonna flip it to the opposite of how you can encourage your fans to be them, and that's go and do Google reviews, go and talk about, get your folks talking about, come to your restaurant or come to your business, encourage them to show how excited they are when they come to your place or what their product is. And that's really where you can find these super grassroots micro influencers in some senses. I'm seeing the people that comment on your Facebook or answering Twitter. So social listening. So what's your response, or sendable? Dang, they sound awesome. Like social listening
Sendable is my favorite. It
sounds awesome.
Long time user, and
I was listening in
together because of how much I loved it.
I bet I was listening in the waiting room. I'm like, that sounds awesome. And then I would encourage people, the social listening piece of, that would be the first piece is see who's talking about you, and then pay attention. Pay attention to your Facebook page, your Google page, your Google Maps page, or your Google listening, or your Google listing. My goodness, I see people leaving a ton of money on the table and a ton of opportunities by not answering people who have come to their Google listing to say something, answering their concerns, listening to Twitter, everything, Instagram stories is great now. People can mention your business in Instagram stories. Pay attention to that.
Yes. And okay, so what should our boring business owners be looking for in an influencer partnership? Obviously, we have the, you should be listening. And then and finding, and that's a good way to find people to be a part of it. But what else should they be looking for? What should a partnership look like between an influencer and one of our boring business owners?
The first thing is expectation. Absolutely. Setting expectation right off the bat of what is that person going to do for you? I'm going to talk in stories and examples while we're on this interview. For instance, I got asked to go to a resort in California last year, and they reach out to a whole variety of different influencers and ask them to come, and they put them up for the weekend, and it was super fun. It was called Pachanga Resort in Southern California. And what was so interesting is I went and I did a lot of talking about it before I went, tweeting and doing posts saying, I'm going to this place, using the right hashtags. So, making sure everybody's clear about all the different social handles and what hashtags you want to use. So come up with that criteria right off the bat. But then when I got back, it was interesting because they told me, that I was one of the few people that actually wrote about it. And did provide content. And I was like, dang, that's just disappointing to hear. And I can see why there is a backlash towards influencers, micro influencers, or, I generally don't even use that word too much. And I'm very, very, make sure that I use the word micro so that there's no misunderstanding that I'm not out here asking for a bunch of free stuff without giving value. But I'm also very clear that I'm going to be incredibly honest about what my opinion is. So like, let's say I go and work with a hotel, because I have the building inspection background, by the way. It's kind of a bonus for a lot of resorts, because I give them my, like, ooh, guys, that carpet over there, y'all need to look at that. So I'll give them a list off to the side. It's not something I would put in my data or my coverage. But, I give them the heads up on things that they could probably take care of. But then I just offer what my opinion is. And, the biggest thing for me is I represent the female buyer. So that's my tagline, is connecting businesses and brands to their biggest buying market, which is women, because we make 85%, if not more, of overall buying decisions, whether it's our money or not. Let's be clear on that. Because a lot of people go, oh, but we don't make that much. I'm like, that may not be my money, but that may be my budget, right? So that's something I want to encourage businesses, is to start listening to women, because we make the buying decisions. And here's the other key too. I'm going to get on my little soapbox. Ready? Not only do we make the buying decisions for ourselves, but it's proven in data that women are not only buying for ourselves, but we buy for others. Men tend to just buy for themselves. That's okay. Not a slam on them. That's just what it is.
No, I can totally relate to that back. So I have, I guess, for lack of a better word, because I'm a micro influencer in the military community. I do a lot of education for business owners and brands to know about military life so that they can sell to us correctly. Because I got really fed up with all of the bad military marketing that people were putting out there. And I was actually approached by a company that is all about having listings for homes for sale and for rent around the bases. And there's over 450 bases around the world. And so they were doing all of their marketing and advertising, and all of the conversations, everything is about military people. And once a service member gets married, their spouse literally controls everything. Where they live, what their house looks like, what the budget is, how the money is spent, where the food comes from, where the couponing happens, what gets bought for the kids, what activities they're going to, everything. Mm-hmm. All of the research is done by the military spouses. And
empire. We are running mini empires, right?
Yeah. And they did not know that. And so once they've had that shift, and we've been working together through different video stuff, they're seeing a different response from people. And like people are like, I didn't even know this website existed, because they were talking to the wrong people.
They're talking to wrong people. That's absolutely right. I was so inspired by your story with that. I mean, talk about a niche that people would think like, oh, this not paying attention to that, just putting it out there. Like, no, we're the ones that, and you're right, vacations, doctors, schools, people you work with, everything. That's where we're paying attention. And that's the other thing too. We're all talking to each other. So they're going to come to you and say, Desiree, who's, because we don't have time to waste of vetting people out. And it's cutting through all the noise.
Well, they don't even know. They don't know how to find them. Which I think is what's so interesting about today's podcast is that we don't know. Not even me. Like, I know how to help other businesses find military spouses to partner with for influencer marketing, because I've connected with that. I'm in that community and plugged into it. But I honestly, like, besides my existing customers and getting testimonials and stuff from them about how they've enjoyed my service, I would not know how to go about finding the right micro influencer for my brand. Because again, it's so different for me to talk about what we do all in one and what our mission is and all of that stuff. It's a totally different thing for someone else who likes my business and service and is willing to do that extra work, whether it's paid or out of the goodness of their heart because they just love the brand, to talk about all of that stuff as well, and like how it's helped their business and how it affects them. Sure. So I think that is a big struggle that business owners have from all corners. I know that like there's different PR companies you can work with. They have like a list that you can tap into and blah, 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 blah. But our chiropractors and our dentists and our roofers, they're like, I'm just over here fixing people's teeth and patching up their roofs. Like,
it is.
What is this next piece? So like, how would people even know how to find these micro influencers? I think is the big struggle.
Sure, and I think it's getting your head around the difference in it. So yes, so for me, micro influencer. So I also work with car companies, right? So the car companies give what they do is they provide the media with a fleet, and then they give the cars to these different media folks like me. And again, I represent this huge buying market that gets completely ignored, right? Car companies. I mean, it just gets pushed towards your average 35 to 45-year-old white guy. That's bottom line, right? That's
you got
they're
the commercial set, like they're the ones that have
the commercial set. That's
clever
right.
the Super Bowl ads and the clever marketing. But
right.
I mean, really, when has I would actually love them to date it, because there has never once in my car owning and buying history where I'm like, man, that commercial really motivated me to go buy that car or lease it. There have been some really clever ads. Like my favorite car ad to this day is Star Wars Kid, where or Darth Vader Kid, when like he goes out to the car and like the dad's in the kitchen like starting it remotely and he just gets all excited. Like that's my I'm also a big nerd. So like for me, that's more like brand awareness versus like motivating me to buy.
Totally.
So
yeah, that's more kitschy than anything. And by the way, look at my mug, also a Star Wars fan.
we are a Star Wars loving house. Like Star Wars and Harry Potter are life around here.
Oh yeah, I'm with you on that one.
And for those of you that were listening, she's holding up a really gigantic big Yoda cup, and that
also says "May the Force be with you" on the other side. And just as a quick aside, I'm actually working with talking with the folks from Ireland, and hopefully we're talking about going over there for May the 4th, because a lot of scenes in Star Wars are filmed in Ireland, and I about lost my mind when they said that. So, same thing.
And I think that is a really good point. I think that you want people to be micro influencers who love your brand, like who are already big fans. Like I feel like they're the people that are like, oh, when you so for me, I'm in the Facebook group for the base that I'm with. So whenever I move, I'm always like, we all have the set of questions, like we're looking for specific things. And one of the things, like, I'm looking for a lady parts doctor. And I went on and I asked, and I got a list of recommendations. And the one doctor's office that showed up the most was the one that I called. Yeah. And it was literally the best lady part experience of my life. I know this is a little TMI for you guys out there, but it's a big deal. Important. And so I literally am a brand advocate for her. I literally keep a picture of her really adorable magnet on my phone. And anytime people talk about it or post about it or need somebody, I always share it and I send it to them directly. And I say, you've got to go talk to Heather. She is the best. And because I'm a fan of her work because of what she said. And I guess in a sense, I have just become a micro influencer for her brand.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, it's tough to say there's no place that you would go to, especially with this micro influencer for your day-to-day, like you said, the roofers, the chiropractors, things like that. So what I want to encourage everybody to do is become, like what you just said, become a micro influencer within your community. I'm just thinking I have this vision of like everybody rising up and just is supporting one another, because a lot of times too, when it comes to social media, the only time you hear about something is when it's bad news, rather than when somebody's excited. And I'm always trying to encourage people to do that. Like get on Google Maps. Like that, that's my big jam is Google Maps. So now I'm at level 8 contributor, and I've contributed, I think my photos have over, get this, I think it's 21 million views of just photos I've uploaded to Google Maps. And it's the funniest thing that the weirdest stuff has the most views. I have the oddest picture that I took at a restaurant here in Denver. And the only reason why I took it is because the chef was yelling at the staff and we thought it was hilarious. And I was like, dude, this guy is off his rocker. And it's Peter's Chinese in Denver. Now, granted, you can't see how many views I have, but what I do is I screenshot when I go to a restaurant or I'm doing an influencer bit for somebody, and I send it to them and say, I took these pictures this weekend, and now this one picture of your chicken nugget has 5,000 views, right? So it's super fun. Everybody can do that. You can go and leave reviews on Google, because think about it. When you're on your phone, you're like, ooh, I'm going to Google and see what's around me. So I think we all can become, just these incredible micro influencers, and then start attracting the people to us who are also crazy about our business too. So, then I'm also an influencer, or I call it brand ambassador for my boyfriend's CBD company. And that's because it's been life-changing for me, not just because he's my boyfriend, but because I can speak to it. So I'm not gonna do any kind of brand ambassadorship for brands that I don't believe in. So that's when you do get those literally raving fans is kind of the start, I would say.
And I think that that's an interesting point, that you will not support a brand that you don't believe in or try to use yourself. And I think that's one of the things that people run into with the trap of influencer marketing. So many people and brands look at somebody in the influencer space and they say, oh, that person has this many followers, and this is my personal measurement of how successful or worthy they are.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's not true.
And it's not true. And on top of it, when you come to these people who are like basically paid influencers, they're basically going to love on the product because they're getting paid for it.
Sure.
And I'm 100% not saying this is everybody. I'm not. I know a lot of really good influencers and micro influencers that have a really good reach with their small numbers. And they are like, no, this is not right for my brand. This is not right for my audience. And at the same time, it's almost like by telling them, look, this isn't right, it's not helping that business either. Mm-hmm. Like, it would make absolutely no sense for a sports company to come talk to me because they go, you talk to military people. I'm like, no, I talk to military spouses. And if you want to talk about sports, you're going to want to go over and talk to these people because we're not sports people. A Star Wars person, a Disney person, give me a call. Like, I can help you all day with that.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really just about like knowing the numbers. And I think it's a combination of like, yes, numbers have some level of importance, but at the same time, it's more important to look at what the kind of content that person makes and the things that they love and the stuff that they are like all about, and finding that partner to be more valuable because they're going to give your brand so much love and so much extra credit because they would use your product or your business or your service, whether you were partnering or not.
Let me jump in on that, because so one person, and you're spot on with all of that. There's that word engagement, and sort of your average business may not understand what that is, but it's really is who's talking to each other. So if I put something out and and a lot of the car companies watch me because I'll put my information on my personal page. Like when I go drive a big truck and then I go pick up a bunch of dog food for Colorado Pet Pantry, which is one of my favorite volunteer programs here. They provide pet food for food banks. Right. And then this furlough time we just had recently, oh my gosh. So people couldn't even feed themselves, let alone their pets. So I wove that story in together of the big Nissan pickup truck with the dog food. And so everybody's kind of watching. And so you see all the engagement over there. So look for engagement, because that is to segue real quick into that big story we were talking about when we were in the green room there's two stories that have come up. One is from about a year ago, but I'm going to post the link that I did exactly a year ago today, actually, kind of informing people about what influence are, what good influencer marketing is and what bad is, because there was a big fight over in Ireland. A young influencer, I'm using the quotes, went to this Irish hotel. She didn't do her homework to even check on these guys. They have a huge reputation of being anti-influencer. And this huge fight ensued that went down to death threats. I'm not kidding you. Like it was a huge hoo-ha, brouhaha. And so I did a post about that and did a bunch of links of people that I've worked with and how excited I was about them and how much they loved the content I put out. And then the other story you guys have probably been hearing about is this Fire Festival thing. And it's because of two shows that came out on Hulu and Netflix. And this was a concert that came about 2 years ago. And talk about these big influencers like Kendall Jenner, all these supermodels. Everybody just got snowed. And because they all told this big story about this big music festival that was going to happen, and it was disastrous, and people were stuck down there. It was really bad. I just watched the show this weekend on Netflix, and now it turns out that not only did the show producer go to jail because he was scamming everybody, but he also now they're going back and they're pushing on the supermodels. Kendall Jenner got paid $250,000 for one Instagram post. right? And then all these businesses down in the Bahamas, they lost all this money. So this is big talk we're talking here, but it's so juicy. I had to mention it. Another
Well, no, it's a
huge.
problem, and that's like the examples of like why I think people don't think influencer marketing works, and then it's not genuine or real, because again, it comes down to, like I said, people just getting paid to say something great about something they have absolutely no idea about.
And let me give some more advice. Oh, go ahead.
It's okay. If it's right, guys, you're just joining us today. I'm talking with Mia Voss about how your boring business can benefit from working with micro influencers to grow your business and help it get seen in that cluttered newsfeed. Make sure that you type 5 down in the comment section below to get updates about our next show and resources to help your boring business get that message seen in that cluttered newsfeed. So we've talked a little bit about some examples of like people doing it all wrong. What do you think? What are some of your personal experiences of think about how influencer marketing has worked really well for more local, smaller businesses? I think it's really easy and probably not like the anti-boring business to talk about getting to go to Ireland and do amazing influencer marketing, which is so. I have a lot of envy in that, by the way. But
it's big. That's big picture, but we can talk. Yeah, let's dial it in.
And that, yeah. So I think and that's also like a big goal for influencers is travel influencer sponsorship and stuff. So what are some examples you have for working with local businesses and small businesses in your Denver community where influencer marketing has been beneficial that our boring business owners can learn from?
Again, going back to just finding these people that are just love your business. And so, I have to be very clear when I work with something. If I'm given something in kind or comped, you have to be very clear. So I want to put that out there. If you do work with somebody and you give them something to talk about it, the SEC, the SEC or the FCC really came down. FCC came, I always get those mixed up. They came down on all these folks because they weren't putting in there. They weren't saying, I am being paid or I am being compensated for this. I'll tell you, that's one of the biggest things. So please make sure if you're going to work with somebody and say, hey, I'm going to give you this. Could you write about it? They have to put that I have either been given in kind or compensated. So please make sure that everybody's clear about that, because that's part of the big fallout from this is that, they don't want people saying, oh, I love this. And they're, I have to even do that with the cars. I say, I've been given this car to drive for my very opinionated opinion about this. And that's exactly the words that I use. I also, just real quick aside, I put zombie apocalypse ratings in when I travel and in my car reviews, because you never know what's going to be handy, where you want to be or what you want to drive if there's a zombie apocalypse.
You know what? That is so funny because my husband and I, so our first base we were stationed at, our base commander came out with the zombie apocalypse plan. And it got us talking about like, oh, if we were in different cities, like how badly would we be affected? Or like, what would we do? How would we get out? And like, our car is actually a big part of it. But what makes it so great is that's your unique spark about it. Like for me, it's military marketing. For you, the zombie apocalypse rating, like that's something only Mia does.
I'm a almost 54-year-old woman talking about what car to drive in the zombie apocalypse. I'm just saying, you gotta spin it up. But for me, locally, I'd say I have a chiropractor that I absolutely love, and so when I go, and I'm not comped with him, but I just love him so much. So I'll do Instagram stories and I'll tag him and I just talk about them, or I'll check in when I'm you can check in on Swarm, and then that goes to Twitter, which I absolutely love. And please don't downplay the power of Twitter. I still do think it's a powerful medium as well. It kind of makes people's eyes bug out a little bit, but my focus is Twitter, Insta, and Facebook. So
I think people have a mental block lately about Twitter because I still think they've been around for like over 10 years. I think the problem is people still just don't get it. They're like, and I think that's where people just struggle with it. It's another thing they have to spend time on. And if you don't spend time on it, you're not, if you're not there and you're not active and you're not like having conversations and finding conversations to go jump in and be a part of, it's not going to be effective for you. Like straight up for me, Twitter is not a place that I spend my time.
Sure. And it may not be for small business. It's great for trends. It's great for watching things.
Great for news.
Great for news.
And I like Twitter. Like I go to it when I need it, but it's not my go-to. Like my go-to are lives, YouTube, and Instagram. So I get it. Everyone's got the thing, and we figured out what the right platforms are for our businesses and for our brands, and that's just as equally important for our boring businesses. You guys got to be where you're most comfortable and you can have the most impact for your customer. And you also would want a micro influencer that's there as well.
Absolutely. And again, micro influencer has so many different meanings to it, but for the smaller businesses and so forth, it can be that you can handpick some people to come into your restaurant and do a tasting dinner and say, hey, tell us about it. Just make sure that people are talking about it. That's the biggest thing that gets people disgruntled is they give things or they ask for opinions and then people don't do what they say they're going to do. And that's really tough. So just make sure you're asking for what you need and say, hey, could you provide me with the links of what you're going to put out there, or, let me know, and just communicate, and then make sure they're using your right handles, your right hashtags and so forth. And I'll tell you what I've been really getting fired up about lately is Pinterest. Like small businesses. Really? Yes, ma'am. And I was not about it at all. Let me tell you something. And then lately I've been watching that, and anybody who has a product, even a product or a service like Pinterest. I had a Pinterest board, and my Pinterest boards, the only thing that was going over there was my Instagram. I was using the program IFTTT, the if this then that, to just automatically send it over. I still had 4,000 unique views on Pinterest, not doing anything. So then if you get concerted and pin things up there that are your products, or, pictures of somebody that loves your product, everybody wants to see somebody else talking about you, not you just talking about how cool you are.
Yes, definitely. So we've talked a lot about what you do to look to find the right influencer and what we can hope that they should be doing, and things like posting and giving their honest opinions to their audiences and things like that. And then asking for what you're hoping for in return and stuff like that. How do you think our boring businesses would find a way to measure the success of this partnership?
That is always a super tough one. And I think that you have to get away from the I spent this much and I should get this much in return. For me as a micro influencer, I can't guarantee how many people are going to buy something, right? I can't say, I'm going to post this and 4 people are going to buy your product, because I don't know what you're going to do with that. But I would say one way to make it super successful is to make sure that you're actually sharing out that information and engaging with that. One of my biggest frustrations is that I will do things, I'll put out links. Uh-oh, dog's going to bark. Hold on. Okay. For those of you that are watching, I've had this little Frenchie on my lap the whole time. And there she goes. Hold on.
There it is. It's okay. When I already told me we are pro dog here. I have 2 dogs in my house now. And without fail, the doorbell will ring while I'm broadcasting. So there's almost always dog barking in the background of my shows.
Because my boyfriend is going to grab her up because she didn't realize that Papa was home. So, but that's the biggest thing, is that people are not taking advantage of it and resharing it, or saying, look how great this, this person is that talked about me, and actually doing something with,
It's okay, guys. She's having some sound issues. No big deal. It happens.
We've got the co-office space, and a wrecking ball just came in here. So
okay, but kids are cool. But back to measuring success.
And measuring success. So I mean, that's the thing too, is that you want to make sure that person sends you all the links, and but I guess what I can say is one thing you don't want to say is, oh, it wasn't a success because 4 people didn't buy. You know that what that is, that people need, what is the touches, like at least 7 touches before they buy something. So think in terms of long game and evergreen content, meaning things that you can keep posting and say, this one person came and they really liked my product or my service. Don't think in this kind of small-minded of, I'm going to hire this person, or I'm going to give this person, and they better give, I better get 4 sales from this. You're just going to have to drop that, because you never know. It's like a billboard. I can put a billboard up, but I can't control how many people are going to look at it. They think of your influencer as a billboard, right? And take action and so forth. So, I
think we run into the same thing with PR as well. Like we work with PR people to try and help us get, press coverage, whether it's paper, digital, or TV, and they do their job by getting us on, and then it's just a matter of people still have to take that action. So It might be a matter of maybe you need to adjust your message or just keep working it and keep staying relevant and keep getting people talking, because the more people are talking, the more people are going to show up.
I in fact, just had a person, I was a local business I was working with. And, we just came to the agreement just yesterday of like, I don't think this is working. But more because of their timing, they weren't able to, I was putting out a lot of content and super excited about them, but they were in a space too, where they were adjusting their business. They just opened a new location and weren't able to do as much with it. And I said, let's just come back to it. I'm still going to come to you. I'm just not, don't give me things, but I'll still talk about you and we'll reassess. So don't be afraid to ask for all the collateral. Hey, what have you been doing? And, can you send me links and keep up with that? Again, that's one of my biggest frustrations. If I put content out there and nobody does anything with it, it's leaving money on the table. And I want to go back to really encouraging all these businesses to keep an eye out for in the community of people talking about them. Check your Facebook page, check your Google Maps, check Yelp, check TripAdvisor if you're on that, and just see if anybody's talking about you. Nothing's worse. If you ever think about if I paid you a compliment, said how cute you look, and you went, just ignored me. Like, dang, I just said something nice.
I think that you also touched on an interesting thing. You might not be able to measure success through like number of sales or whatever, but you can also look at influencer marketing as a way to have more content created for you about your business that you can use online. So I know that Tyler Anderson over at the Social Hour is a big advocate of that, with their tool Tact and all that kind of stuff, where it's like trying to come up with your own marketing messages and your own images and all that kind of stuff all the time is really exhausting. And we run into it even with our agency. And that's why we will actually switch up accounts with the manager so that they can have fresh eyes on stuff. If you are working with an influencer, especially if you're paying an influencer and they're saying all kinds of great things, they're taking great photos, they're doing some video, they're doing some grams for you, that is literally content you do not have to make. And you guys all know that content creation is our jam over here at the Marketing for Your Boring Business podcast, because content is like the foundation of your social media. If someone else is going to create it for you, it's just basically giving you time back that you didn't have before. So find a way to keep repurposing that, add it into your scheduling flow to keep sharing that image and what they were saying. And the more people you have talking, the more reviews you've got on all these different social sites that you can be using. It's going to make your life so much easier, because people know when like you've paid a stock photographer to like come take photos of your food or your practice or whatever. And I think that all of us as a whole can collectively groan that we're sick of it. But I think that when you have other people who are taking pictures with their phones or giving their perspective and doing their own sort of like taking it like you have with your zombie rating and stuff, it just adds that extra flair and authenticity because it's coming from someone who already loves your brand.
Absolutely. And don't give a hard time to these folks that you see in these restaurants taking pictures. I literally, the minute I walk in, I take pictures of everything and I take pictures of my food. And then when I get home, I put them right into Google Maps. So that's me talking about something I love. And you're so right.
My husband knows better than to eat food before I take pictures. So
yeah.
I totally get it.
the fork comes out like, don't take that.
Right.
So, because you want to get the authentic pictures of it. So yes, it is great. It's this fun, fresh eyes and this fun content that you can reshare. And I mean, I know for myself, I did a thing for a place called the Platte River Fort up in Fort Collins here. And they have these, covered wagons that you can rent, and they're divine. They're so much fun, and they have electricity, and there's so much fun, and it's freezing here like it is everywhere across the country. And so last night I just repurposed that story and I just reposted it on Facebook and Twitter of like dreaming of, dreamy covered wagon in the middle of the summertime, just to put it out there again, just because I like them so much.
No, that's so good. So I think my last sort of question for you is going to be, what are some sort of like bonus tips that our boring business owners should pay attention to? Like maybe one or two things was like, this is what I found to be like my secret sauce to like have a successful relationship with the brand. So from micro influencer to boring business, what you got?
I think just be really clear on what lights you up and what your story is. And a lot of people, I think they've just been in their business for so long, they forget that maybe the reason why they came up with it is because they had their grandmother's recipe with a cast iron skillet, and it's so cool. And, you know, just fall in love again with what your message is, and then get people that are just as excited about it. I think that's the thing that we get so day to day in our business, we lose sight of what it was, the reason why we created it. So fall in love with your business message again and get people excited about it. And again, I think you don't even necessarily have to work. It doesn't have to be a monetary. I mean, if you really want to dive into micro influencing, but you're scared and you're afraid about the monetary part of it, and just find one person that you say, I'd like to have you come and do a tasting meal, or come and, you know, see what what we're going to be doing for this later on in this year, and have them talk about it.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Mia, for being on the show. Guys, if you want to connect with Mia, how do we do that?
Website is Mia on the Go, and then on the handles, I'm at Mia Voss on the Go. Voss like the water.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you again for tuning into another episode of the Marketing for Your Boring Business Facebook Live and podcast. We are actually now on Spotify. I am so excited about this. So make sure you listen and subscribe wherever it is that you are getting your boring business sound bites. And again, if you are up for it, I would love it if you could leave a review wherever you are listening. And like we always say, military life is never goodbye. It's see you soon. So until next time, I'll see you soon.
Bless your heart. Oh, you've been holding that in for the last 45 minutes, haven't you? Yes. Oh, I can't hear you.